My name is Carson, and this is On Air with Heritage Action, a podcast built for conservatives. Twice a week, we break down some of the most important issues facing our country and talk about how you can get involved today in the fight for conservative values. Today, we're talking ESG. ESG standards may be unfamiliar to many listening, but they are a major threat to our American consumers, families, and small business owners today. What are ESG policies? ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance, and these are the criteria that some financial institutions now use to decide whether to invest in or do business with certain companies. Financial institutions now ask questions about whether companies are environmentally friendly enough, if they support left-wing policies like abortion on demand, or if their board promotes woke racial equity. When the left pushes their woke agenda in schools, they call it CRT. When they do it in business, they call it ESG. The financial institutions and government regulators driving the ESG agenda are focused on delivering big wins for the left's political agenda. They are not focused on creating healthy businesses or better workplaces for employees. ESG policies are bad for consumers, they are bad for employees, and they are even bad for investors. So how exactly does ESG cancel conservatives? It starts with the creation of ESG scores. If you're familiar with the social credit system in communist China, then you can probably see where this is headed. But businesses get an ESG score based on how compliant they are with the Marxist left's environmental and social policies. If a company pays for abortions, they get a higher score. If they work with oil or gas, their score goes down. Businesses get ESG points for having racial quota goals for employees. And according to the left, good corporate governance means employee pay is based not on hitting sales goals, but by hitting ESG goals. All of this information about a business gets compiled into one easy-to-read ESG score. In communist China, if your social credit score isn't high enough, they don't let you buy a train ticket to travel. In America, if your business's ESG score isn't high enough, then you can't get a bank loan. Maybe you aren't even allowed to open up a bank account at all. ESG scores are a weapon. They are used to isolate and destroy the non-compliant. Here's how ESG scores will play out in the real world. Through our new initiative at ESGhertz.com, the Heritage Foundation and Heritage Action actually just released a new commercial showing what the reality could look like for small business owners if we allow ESG policies to take hold of our economy. Let's roll the new ad. For those listening today, be sure to watch it too. Just head over to ESGhertz.com as soon as this episode is over.
Hey, I'm Brian. My pronouns are he, his, him. I understand you're looking for a small business loan, but you're having troubles with your ESG score.
I was denied.
What's your business?
I operate drilling equipment, oil and gas.
Uh-huh. The E in ESG is for environmental. You're in a dirty industry.
So I can't get no loan?
Well, let's take a look at your company's social policies. Tell me about your plan to create social justice.
Social justice.
Do your employees get paid time off for abortions? And tell me about your diversity, equity, and inclusion plan.
Well, I ain't got none of that. I'm a driller. I just hire good people to do the work.
Well, maybe there's one more thing we can check. Do you have any female co-owners?
No, just me.
Ooh, have you ever identified as a woman? Or even just non-binary? It could really help your score.
What?
Your loan is denied. Come back when you fix your ESG score.
That just about sums up the whole issue in just 60 seconds. ESG advocates are basically attempting to create a social credit score like they have in China. And if you don't fit in with their vision for social justice or so-called green energy, then you will be punished. You won't be able to fully participate in the American economy, or you might even be sued. And I think it's important to highlight the very real human impact of this. Not all of us own a business, but most of us work someplace. And we don't want to clock in at some left-wing dystopian nightmare. If you're working for some big multinational corporation, just know that the ESG agenda turns you into a set of diversity checkboxes for financial reporting. You are no longer a unique individual whose efforts and contributions are valued. Under ESG, you become more or less valuable based on your skin color, gender identity, or sexual orientation. Research from the Heritage Foundation recently highlighted the case of Oracle. Oracle was actually sued by investors who alleged that the company misinterpreted its diversity measures in public statements. Oracle felt so much pressure to have the right set of diversity checkboxes employed there that some are accusing them of fudging the numbers. ESG is dehumanizing to workers. An ESG score is only up the woke pressure on companies. And who is pushing these ESG policies? They weren't created by accident. This agenda is being pushed by green activists, woke cultural warriors, global elites, and the big businesses they control. There are a lot of Democrats in DC who want to turn ESG standards into public policy. A few months ago, the Biden administration even proposed a rule through the Securities and Exchange Commission, which would force businesses to include information about climate change in their registration statements and annual reports. Businesses would have to assess how climate change could impact their business, operations, or financial condition. This would include determining the company's greenhouse gas emissions and even the emissions of businesses, including small businesses, that the company buys from or sells to. Companies would even have to disclose how often their boards talk about climate change. In 5 years from now, good luck going public and getting listed on the stock exchange if your ESG score is too low. ESG is going to hurt everyone. It's going to force some companies to close shop, to pay lawyers thousands in legal fees to fight back. And it's going to drive up costs for consumers, especially in the energy industry. And it is all connected between DC liberals and financial institutions. At these big financial institutions, ESG policies are also being pushed by some questionable characters with major ties to influential Democrats in the Washington elite. According to an August report from the American Accountability Foundation, there are a number of former liberal DC staffers who are now in influential positions at the big three asset management firms, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Some of these staffers served in the Obama administration or donated to Bernie Sanders, called Republicans mass murderers, and some who are even on the board of left-wing groups like the Soros-backed North Star Fund. As AAF uncovered and the Federalist reported, these are the people who are controlling your investments. Why does this matter? Well, these firms control $22 trillion of our money, and they have been using our money to push their activism with ESG policies. And I say our money because a lot of it truly is ours. It's our retirement, our 401ks, our public pensions. That money gets invested into big mutual funds that direct that money into public companies. And increasingly, that money is getting directed based on ESG criteria. Do you really want former liberal operatives and Obama administration officials controlling your money at these big asset management firms? Your money is literally being used against you. They don't care if you get returns. They are cultural Marxists at heart and will sacrifice anything or anyone for their cause. And this is why we say ESG hurts, because it really does hurt so many people in so many ways. From customers to business owners, from employees to retirees, ESG hurts. There are a number of ways we can fight back against ESG. First, calling it out when you see it is important. When parents across the nation stood up in school board meetings and called out CRT, that swung elections. The left hates it when you just point out their woke agenda and call public attention to it. Second, we can protect state contracts. Here's how that plays out. A state like West Virginia has a lot of workers employed in the energy industry. It's a big part of the West Virginia economy. So they passed a new law and the West Virginia Treasurer, Riley Moore, enforced it. He basically made a list of financial firms that were supportive of the ESG agenda and taking actions to hurt the energy industry, and he said that West Virginia government wasn't going to do business with them. West Virginia would take their banking elsewhere, not with the woke corporations undermining the West Virginia economy. A third thing we can do to stop ESG is somewhat similar to the second. We can protect state pensions and investments. There is no need to invest our retirements into ESG-minded companies that hate us. State governments can invest taxpayer-funded pensions with other asset management firms. This is just the start. There are a lot of states who are joining the fight and protecting their states against ESG policies. Lawmakers should look for other ways to make sure ESG scores don't take root in American soil. After all, we aren't ever going to beat communist China by adopting their authoritarian social policies here at home. The Heritage Foundation and Heritage Action launched a campaign called ESGhertz to spread the word on ESG. You can find all of our resources on ESGhertz.com, which has tons of background information, our commercial, and even model legislation for state lawmakers looking to protect their states from woke financial institutions and the DC elite. Aside from staying informed, make sure you're regularly communicating with your state and federal lawmakers and asking them what they've done and what they're doing to fight woke ESG standards. That's it for another episode of On Air with Heritage Action. Thank you for tuning in. If you like what you heard in today's episode, please click the follow button. If you want to receive a text message each time a new episode airs, text podcast to 51776 and you'll never miss an episode. That's podcast to 51776. Hi, it's me again, and we need your help. If you like the insights and activist resources we are providing, please take 1 minute and help us spread the word. Share this episode with friends and family on social media, email, or text. We need everyone's help in the fight to hold Washington accountable. And don't forget, you are also able to subscribe and listen to episodes on your smartphone. Just open up your favorite podcast app and search for On Air with Heritage Action. Click subscribe and download episodes so that you can take them with you on the go. It's the best way to make sure you never miss a thing. Thanks.